You're watching Drake's Migration Nation Season 8, powered by Hydra Trek. Previously on Drake's Migration Nation, the bitterly cold temperatures of winter in the Pacific Northwest froze most standing water, creating the perfect conditions for Northwest Regional co-host Bill Saunders and his crew to hunt their favorite honey hole. Now it's time to catch up with Barney Califf at one of his favorite hunting locations.
Get ready. Gonna be a good morning. Yeah.
Drake's Migration Nation is powered by Hydra Trek.
You know, with me being a bit of a history buff, it's coincidental that my all-time favorite place to hunt waterfowl is along the Lewis and Clark Trail. On this hunt, we're set up on the Nebraska side of the Missouri River. And although this particular hunt is an area that's steeped in history, unlike Lewis and Clark's raft, our duck blind has a 150 horsepower engine on it.
Morning.
Well, I got my wish. It cleared off about sunset last night, so we should whack them. Everybody's ready to go? Our hunt started on December 3rd this year. It's kind of late for this area. We're on the Nebraska-South Dakota border. Trouble is, we didn't have any migration. It had been so mild for the 2016 season that we essentially waited. We typically start hunting up there in mid-October. There was no sense in going. Finally got a little bit of weather towards the end of November. We thought we could probably go get a TV show shot, so I grabbed some friends of mine and we headed up to see what we could do. 2 weeks ago when we were up here, the water was, I think, around 18,000 cubic feet per second outflow. And historically, they drop it down to about 11 to 13 the week of Thanksgiving. And those logs we just passed weren't showing last weekend, so I'm gonna err on the slow side here. The spot that we hunted all 3 days, I had found 3 weeks prior, and we had good water, and you could maneuver however you wanted. Still had some runs that you had to be careful of, but by and large, it was waist deep water. You could put decoys out. The trouble is, by the end of Thanksgiving week, they typically drop the flows on the river, and we didn't anticipate that when we pulled in there that first morning. Trouble is, we couldn't get over the mud bar to get into our hole. We've got a water droppage and we're having trouble getting into our little pothole. Well, hell, that's knee deep. It'll float in there, won't it?
Good go. Yeah, come through right here.
I don't know, Jeremy. Ultimately, what we did is what I do with my bass boat, and we call it blowing over a bar. We would stay on plane with a 150 horse outboard and roar over top of that thing into deep water. You can do it a lot when you've got deep water on both sides. If you don't know what you've got on the shallow side, you got to be careful. But that's how we would get in there in the mornings and how we would exit when we left in the afternoon. We're kind of in a quandary right now. They're calling for a south wind, and we've got a kind of a west-northwest wind. And you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You set up for the wind you got, it'll switch. If you set up for what they're calling for, it doesn't switch. So we're gonna play the game. We're gonna set up for a south wind, and when it switches, we will whack they, I like to say.
To keep up with all the hunting action, check us out on the web. Season 8 of Drake's Migration Nation is powered by Hydra Trek. Rio Ammunition, share the experience. Mojo Outdoors, it ain't magic if it ain't Mojo. Boss Drives, take charge. Prodigy Boats, and by Drake Waterfowl Systems, innovators in waterfowl hunting.
Well, we got out to our hole this morning and the wind is not what they called for. It's actually kind of west-northwest, which is what we had here yesterday. It's supposed to be south. So we're setting up for the wind that we're forecast to have. And in the meantime, it is clouded up. So I don't know what to think now. If ducks fly by, we'll blow our whistles at them and see what happens. On this week's episode, we're on my all-time favorite place to hunt ducks, the Missouri River on the Nebraska-South Dakota border. Been up there since 1987. It's a huge area, very vast. It gets a lot of pressure, but it can handle it because of the size. It's probably 20 to 30 miles long, a couple miles wide, cattails, pockets, slough, river channel, all kinds of things you can hunt. If it gets cold, you move out on the moving water because you don't have to mess with the ice. So it's just a killer area to hunt. Shoot him, Scott. Well, that was kind of ugly. Like I said earlier, we're sitting here fighting with the wind. It's supposed to be here, and it's here. And those geese circled, and that was the best opportunity we had when they come across our bow. So, two of them are going for a ride in my duck boat. What we did ultimately, and found out that it was a mistake, is we set up for the wind that was forecast instead of what we actually had. And we sat there for the first probably 3 hours with the wind hitting us in the left cheek. So what birds tried to work were coming in over our right shoulder, backwards. And it's always an ugly scenario, quite honestly, when you're hunting like that. Oh, good one, Scott! Shoot him, shoot him! Well, that's what's the trouble with waiting on a wind. So we finally decided to bite the bullet and set up where the wind was right. It's probably my biggest pet peeve, is having the wind not right for your setup. We're gonna go set up over across the way over there where the wind's right. Then we'll probably get our forecasted wind. I'll go on suicide alert. So we picked up all these decoys, some of them out of the boat because it was unwadeable water, moved over across, got the wind coming off of our right shoulder, and got a pretty good setup. Still had to deal with clouds, but we worked some birds, got a few shots in. Shoot him! I think everybody wanted to partake in the dispatchment. Well, we just finally got moved back over here, got everything set right, got the wind the way it needs to be. First duck comes by and bit the dust.
Here it comes.
I say shoot him, Scott. Atta boy. Towards the end of the day, we started to get pretty optimistic because we were seeing more and more birds showing up. I think there was a migration starting, so we were highly optimistic for the next day. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I'm gonna. It's the same situation. We got a bunch of snow north of us and a bunch of geese, snow geese, migrating through, and we had clouds the majority of our day today. It hurt us a little bit. We had the wind jacked up on us, and by the time we got moved and got the wind favorable, we ran out of birds. So we're gonna come out tomorrow morning, try it again. It's supposed to be clear and sunny, and we're supposed to have a west-southwest wind. So we'll see what we can do.
To keep up with all the hunting action, check us out on the web. You're watching Drake's Migration Nation Season 8, powered by Hydra Trek.
I think they like what I got set up for them. Got your mojos ready?
We got a big spread of decoys set up, both ducks and geese. Just getting the mojos ready to go. You know, when I hunt the Missouri River, we put out duck and goose decoys. Great opportunity at both a lot of the time. Well, in case you're wondering why we didn't take a crack at those, that's not shooting time. We were rustling around trying to find the regs, find out what shooting time was, and as many times as I wanted to shoot, we were about 4 or 5 minutes too early. So I'm glad we didn't. It's hard not to, though. The landscape of this area essentially is an untamed river. This is as wild a section of the Missouri River as when Lewis and Clark came up it in a raft. Basically, the birds roost on the water here, and it's classic mallard hunting. They go out to feed in the grain fields either side of the river, and then they come back and they funnel their way down the river back to the lake, and we try to intercept them doing that. Get him. Well, that's a good start. Sun comes out and got mallards and the decoys. Get him, get him. I know that was off camera, but it is so hard. There's a Drake mallard hanging there.
He just pretty much dropped vertical out of the flock, and the rest of them were kind of hanging up there. It's always better to what's in the decoys to shoot, because so many times we've had some come in and let the flock work, and then the others lift off and the whole flock takes off, and you're sitting there thinking, gosh, why did I do that? So take what's in the decoys and go from there. Things are looking up.
That was pretty. They're not reckless. They got to be talked to right. That was cool. That last duck we absolutely got greedy on. It won't happen again, I'll guarantee that. Gotta shoot him.
Get him!
You could tell it was gonna get ugly.
Son of a gun. What started out promising didn't end that way.
Shoot him!
Kill him!
They were boogering out too. The last bunch of ducks, and now those, they're seeing something. They're just bailing.
I don't know, there's something up. Either they're seeing something they don't like. They get about so close, and then they just pull out and drift off. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna think about maybe lowering them mojos down and see if that ain't it.
One of the things we run into, mojos are killer on ducks, especially on a bright sunny day, but the geese tend to not like the mojos. So what we're doing is blowing the goose call at the geese, turning the mojos off, working the geese, turning the mojos back on because ducks would show up. So it's kind of a pandemonium for a little while on day two. Single low right here in the decoy. Shoot him.
Good shot, Barney.
Thank you. Woo! We've got migrating geese coming by, and we'll call and call and call them. We can break them down and we get them looking good, then they kind of break up. I don't know what they're not liking, but we had a big bunch we just worked. Got them broke up, and then most of them left. All of a sudden, one single comes around, and I'm in the decoys, and we shot him.
Nice honker. Seen a ton of geese.
Not as many mallards.
If we could just get them to finish, it'd be. But
Yeah, we've worked.
we have worked a ton of birds.
Well, it has been a somewhat frustrating day. We didn't see near the ducks we thought we'd see, but there has been a ton of honkers migrating through here today, and we've worked several bunches. We're not really in a good goose spot. We shot a few Canada geese, we shot a few mallards, and we are gonna come back tomorrow morning and try it again.
To keep up with all the hunting action, check us out on the web. You're watching Drake's Migration Nation Season 8, powered by Hydra Trek.
You know, that's one thing I've noticed over the years of being out early and seeing the sunrise. I love those crystal clear blue mornings, but the sunrises are always muted. If you want pretty skies like this, you need a few clouds, and that is really cool. You got him this time. He's right over the back of the boat. Shoot him! Shoot him! A dead Canada goose.
I'm coming over the boat.
Shoot him. The day started off with some pretty good duck activity, and we did well early on when we had some silhouette shots at ducks. This is our last day, and we have seen more ducks this morning in the first hour by far than we have seen the previous 2 days combined. Shoot those four. It turned into the migrating birds, so we're blowing the duck calls a lot at birds, and we're breaking some flocks down certainly and getting them to work, but more and more geese were showing up, and we kind of abandoned the ducks for a little while and concentrated on geese and did well, I thought. Well, we've got ducks coming off the lake, going out to feed, and lots of them. Again, I have not seen near this many ducks all year, let alone in the last 3 days combined. These bunches aren't wanting to play right because they want to go eat, but they got to come back to water, and then we'll be waiting on them. They'll play a little bit better. Shoot the goose. It is so frustrating. Again, you've heard me preach about it over the years. Clouds, man. We had a flock of probably 50, 60 come back behind us. We hit them hard with the calls, picked up the tempo, got them built up a little bit, and right over it. I mean, they just, and at 60 yards, they didn't like it. If it's sunny, they're in. Kill him! Kill him! The only reason I had to take him is because they're squeakers, and they already swung us once, and they're notorious for acting like snow geese. I would have sure liked to play with them a little bit longer, but I think we should shoot these when they come over us. Bust them. Get him, Dave! Well, there's a lot of geese moving today. There's no doubt about it. Get him. Get him! Well, it's a good thing it wasn't a flock. I had one shell in my gun. Well, it's about midday on the last day of our hunt and shot a bunch of honkers. There's definitely an influx of new birds. The ducks, I'm not so sure. We certainly saw a lot of ducks today. Most of them going upriver, I think, to feed, but they haven't been coming back. And now it's clouded back up. Everybody wants to get on the road and get for home. So we're gonna pick up all these decoys, get them in a boat, and get back to the cabin and truck on down the highway. Overall, it's been a pretty good hunt.
You know, there's an old saying that you've probably heard me say over the years, and it's stick and stay and make them pay. That's basically what we did. It wasn't a barn burner by any means, but we had a good time, family and friends, shot some ducks, saw a lot of ducks and a lot of geese, and just had a great time.
Thanks for joining me in my favorite area of the Migration Nation.